Hello and welcome to Chanakya. Our topic of discussion today is democracy. With the recent comments from the billionaire George Soros on the democratically elected leader Mr. Modi and the democratical process in India, we thought it would be apt to have a deep discussion about democracy, the way democracy is seen, the way democracy is implemented, and the way democracy is mishandled, not just in India, but across the world. Our guest today is a very eminent person, Mr. Suresh Lal, a chemical engineer and a management graduate from IIM Ahmedabad. He's worked in various sectors, starting from energy, manufacturing, banking to information technology. He has a deep understanding of these domains and also quite knowledgeable about other areas like politics, geopolitics, history, and economics. He's worked briefly in Europe and chose to return to India and quit his job to settle down in his native, where he's coaching students for competitive exams like GATE, CAT, GRE, and help them to enter their higher studies. He's addressed over 2 lakh students for career guidance. Currently, he's the founder and president of Tamil Heritage Protection Organization and is also working towards establishing a Gurukul to impart all round education. A person with a very diverse background. It's a great pleasure to have you in Chanakya. Welcome to Chanakya, Mr. Suresh.
Namaskar to all the Chanakya English viewers. I am happy to meet you through Mala Subramaniam.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a privilege for us. So, Mr. George Soros has said India is a democratic country, but Modi is not democratic. What is your initial take on this?
I don't know. He also wants a regime change. That's what exactly he said. He's working towards that. And how can you say that a democratically elected leader is not democratic? And all the American presidents are like that. In fact, there's a popular saying every 4 years, America elects a dictator. In fact, at least in India, you have a council of ministers who are, elected by the people.
Right.
But in America, we see the Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Internal Secretary. Who are these people? They are all, picked up by the President himself. And there is no accountability of whom he appoints to all these important positions. And George Soros comes and gives us a lecture on democracy. I don't know where to start. Yeah.
No, actually, the point here is in democracy, sir. This is a very interesting point here. Modi has won the majority of the people of India for 2 terms, but we have to also consider that 55% of India has voted against Mr. Modi. They don't want Mr. Modi.
Yeah, but
That's with every country and every democracy. But do you think that is inherent flaw, or I should say a gap in democracy about not addressing the percentage which is against you?
actually, we are aware of only two kinds of democracy. One is American and another is Indian. And most of the viewers are like that. And how do democracies function across the globe? If you see, Australia it is a compulsory voting. And there is a point you said 55% voted against vote. In fact, there are only 70% vote. And within that, if you take 45%, it is only 30%. You can theoretically say 70% are against vote. Right? And India doesn't have compulsory voting. And in fact, if you take a country like Bolivia, you can't even get a passport if you don't vote. So there are different kinds of democracies, the democratic process. And one of the other things that we know is that in France, where a French president election, in successive rounds, people are eliminated. And finally, only two people contest. So where you clearly get somebody who is supported more. In a multi-party democracy, it is a first past post system, and we have adapted that, and it has been working fine. And this is the rules.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
can have a debate. We can have a debate whether to change it to other forms of governance or other forms of elected representatives. In fact, there was certain discussion where we wanted to move towards a presidential form of government,
Okay.
and
So,
Parliament doesn't want to debate that. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, it's a separate
and in
debate
fact,
in itself.
I also want to add another point. What George Soros was saying. Modi is unelected. I mean, he is an elected autocrat. What is the regime change he wants? A Congress government where 10
Exactly.
years.
I was
No, for 10
exactly.
years we had an unelected person becoming a prime minister of the country. Is this what he wants?
That's what the next point that I was going to ask you. Like, what would be the interest of people like George Soros, who have been clearly taking anti-Indian stance to bring in a regime change for a democratically elected government? What do you think are the reasons?
See, to discuss this point, actually, we have to go back in history. How democracy started and various stages of democracy. We started
That's
with
what we
Greece.
are going to do today. Go ahead, sir. All yours.
Yeah, basically, if you say in Greece, people popularly say there is a very popular theory that democracy originated in Greece, and they had the first democratically elected government, which means the people choose whom they want them to be governed, right? And the other popular choice was monarchy. Okay, so we can go on a comparison between monarchy and democracy and how democracy is going towards its own extinction. The way the current democracies are going, they will get extinguished very soon, and anarchy will come. That will come much later time. But it was a failed experiment. In Greece, it started, and then again it reverted back to monarchy. So it was not sustained. Okay. Why it collapsed, we do not know. Whenever this kind of thought processes come, and the human beings being a social animal, they need some form of governance. Either it can be theocracy or aristocracy, or today, I mean, autocracy, dictatorship. We have communism, capitalism, and the liberal democracy with the universal franchise. Okay, which is very important. America, as you know, that they didn't have voting rights for women and blacks or colored people for a very long time.
Right.
It took them more than I think 200 years or 150 years to give them the rights.
Quite some time. Yeah. Mhm.
Quite something. Okay. So if you see this evolution, at every point in time, there was something else happening in the society. Why certain different kinds of governance came? If you see this first experimental democracy, as it's popularly called, it was before the start of Christianity, organized religion. Okay, when the organized religion came in, it challenged the monarchies in Europe,
How is
and
how
they
is
had
the
a
church
kind of
connected to
time.
the democratic topic that we are going in now?
It,
Do you see a connect?
no, yeah, of course, they didn't want to be under theocracy, and that is why they were against religion.
Mm.
And so today, when you talk about a normal, see, when you say rational movement, atheist movement, people wanted to get away from church. And the response for that is, the autarky went away, the monarchies went away. And you had a rudimentary forms of democracy taking shape. And always remember, this great power, the real powerful people throughout history are the wealthy, and they decide what happens.
Mm.
Yeah, and this
You're bringing in capitalism here.
not capitalism. I am talking about when I say oligarchs or plutocrats. The
Hmm.
real power centers behind any society are the wealthy. And even in Indian history, if you see, uh, after the kings, it was always the merchants. The merchant class used to command vast fortunes. But if you see, the rich people always are close to the power center, and they're very keen not to lose their fortune. So your laws will be always be created to protect. Okay, and during the 17th, 18th, and 19th century Europe, if you see, Most of these people are fighting with each other, and they were financed by private individuals. That's when we start the beginning of the
I know
banks.
where you're coming to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. But
No,
today,
it's a fact. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, it's a fact. And the middle of the 20th century, we saw the end of the two big wars. Many countries got independence, and they slowly were, they said that democracy is the best form of government. And do you think the colonizers will leave the countries just like that? I mean, they will continue to exploit by other means. What other form of governance that suits their purpose, their democracy,
So
where people have, yeah,
you're telling
yeah.
they are limiting the choices to the people, so they can, the competitors even in democracy, they feel the competitors in democracy should also, both the parties should suit their agenda, and currently that's not the case in India. Is that
That
what
is
you're
one
trying to
part of
say?
it. That is one part of it. What I'm saying is, once the colonization ended, look at what
Mm.
happened to Africa. The entire continent is divided into small countries, and everybody is continuously getting exploited. Nobody can stand up to that, and every head of the government is no compromise. So that all the natural wealth is drained away. They expected something similar in India to happen. It is an artificial entity created out of British, and soon it will balkanize itself out of internal contradictions. They will get splintered, but that didn't happen. It went against the system. And if you see the
Thanks to the
democracy,
Congress government, they saved us.
no, it was not due to the Congress government. It was due
Should
to
I
the
not say
funding of
that?
the. You should not. I mean, Congress are the ones who still keep telling that India is because of
No,
British.
they have passed the flag as a whole country to the recent government, which is taking the country ahead. So they do have to be credited for sustaining what was given to them, at least for safeguarding what was given to them.
Look, if I live in America and if I buy a house there and I cannot take my house, I cannot sell that house, right? I have to leave it as it is. Whom will I give it? The person who is a servant in my home, correct?
Hmm.
That's
No,
what exactly
that
the
is
British did.
no,
That's what exactly the British.
that is a little hard here on, because we believe that we have fought for the freedom, and we have lost many people, like
Okay,
people like
that is the
those,
process.
many
That is the
people,
process.
who people like, Vivo Vausi, people like Tilak, people like Savarkar, people like Mohandas, Karamchand Gandhi.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of
See,
people
see,
people like
that is a
Ambedkar.
very,
So it
yeah,
will be
yeah.
very hard on them to take such a comment, sir. I'm
That's a big
really.
topic in itself. That's a big topic in itself. To discuss it another time. And what I'm saying is the process of getting independence is different. But today, if you see, during all these times, there are a lot of thinkers. So, like we talk about Plato and Aristotle, Socrates, during those times, we had thinkers in medieval Renaissance period, right? European thinkers, a lot of them were there. And 20th century were filled with a lot of thinkers who were socially inclined, right? Like Karl Marx. He also wrote something about communism. What's the response to whatever is happening? People wrote a lot of books on their thinking. Today we are at an inflection point again, and on one side you have a very powerful Pluton. People with never imagined the kind of amount of fortune throughout the history, and this itself poses threat to democracies. What will happen to the rest? And people are not talking about it. There is something seriously wrong is happening. See, when I take about George Soros, okay, he has a personal fortune of $8 billion. and he has donated around $32 billion. That is a figure that you can get from Wikipedia a couple of years back. So, on a conservative estimate, he has made a fortune of $40 billion, right? And people who say George Soros is an old, debilitated man, opinionated, there's nothing wrong. There are a lot of people in India also talk. So what this guy can do? Such an old man, 93 years old. What can he do? Is Indian state so weak?
Right.
Yeah, but understand one thing. He is a front man. He has spent $40 billion in fees, right?
Right.
Which means how much he made for others. On a conservative estimate, it will be around $200 billion.
So whom do you
That,
suspect?
yeah,
Whom do you suspect
we
to be
don't, I
behind?
don't know. There are people for whom he made this fortune. He just got commission.
So the
Of course,
reason he wants a
some
change
money
of
is also
regime in
there.
India is that they have found
This, no, no, is this only George Soros or the people behind?
that
And we do
that's a
not
very
know their faces. We do not know their faces. In fact, hedge funds don't disclose, typically don't disclose who invests with them.
correct.
Most of them are in safe havens where you cannot, from numbered accounts, money will come and we cannot even question them, right? In fact, in 90s and early 2000, 90% of the global capital came from tax havens, where nobody knew who is the owner. You talk about Euro market. It's a very fancy term. We raise loans in Euro market. There's nothing European about Euro markets. It's only the name. It all operates out of the Cayman Islands and British Virginia. It comes
Yes.
from there.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the vast amount of fortunes are managed or not, we do not know. To give you a perspective on what kind of money it is not very small. If you see the people who are behind George Soros, they might typically an investor commits around 20 to 30% of his investment in hedge fund. The remaining he has in other investments, corporate holding. So if George Soros alone had made 200 billion for those investors, their fortune might run into trillions, right? It's the money with them. And when you say, well, India is a big country, it will not be threatened by these people. Look at what is India's tax collection. It will be around $300 billion a year. And you don't spend everything on army, right?
Right.
The government has to spend so much on schools, laying roads, and other things.
Yeah, it's a developing country still,
Ultimately,
so we have many other things. Yeah.
no, in fact, I can even talk about America. Even that is not in a very good position.
No, let's
So
stick to India.
Americans spend around $1 trillion in defense purposes. That's fine. India spends around 200 to 300. I mean, that's a tax receipt. So how much it spends on defense? And that too, most of it goes towards the salaries and pensions. So how much hardware you are going to collect? So if you see these people, if they want, they can raise a much bigger army. This is the kind of time in history where a few hundred people around the globe can challenge any government.
Right.
Okay, and they have taken over societies one by one, and this is a
So
real challenge. And if you see
so
how they
basically,
work,
mhm.
yeah, yeah, go
No,
ahead.
no, no. So basically, the point here is Modi is getting challenged. That is pretty evident here. He's openly challenged Modi, and the reason for the challenge is what is debatable still. We just have assumptions on what could be the reasons, and yeah,
Modi is only delaying the inevitable. What is going to happen? It is
Oh,
only
so
delay.
you think it is
See,
going to happen?
okay, for
That's what
example,
will be.
okay, let me put a different kind of question. Why democracy will fail? During the time of monarchies,
So
there
you're
used to
telling
be a lot of
outright democracy will.
welfare state. I will, take you to the bottom because the way it is designed. Okay, and see, in a system, if I keep on rewarding the fools, everyone will become idiots, right?
Okay.
If there is a
Right.
rule of the game, everyone will become idiots. So similarly, democracy will go this far because there are no checks and balances. Uh, every democracy is hurtling towards its, end
What kind of
at
checks and
different.
balances? Okay, what kind of checks and balances do
Let-
you think is required for a democracy,
say
which you think is not
we,
available in Indian democracy?
no, a democracy has given us a lot of things. Okay, I am not denying that. It has given us personal liberty, right of property. There is a sense of normalcy in life. Your life will not be taken away just like that. But at the same time, democracy also has certain negative points which we don't talk in the mainstream media or publicly we don't talk. See, during the time of monarchies, everybody knows there used to be frequent invasions from neighboring countries. You know why do they come? If a country is pauper, will they come and invade you?
No.
Typically, a king has a treasury.
If someone is
Right?
wealthy, that's when you go and invade. You know.
Yeah. You don't invade a poor man. You always target
Yes,
the rich man. So every king had a treasury, right? So every
they
it's a
did.
popular myth or something. Whenever they come into the palace, they'll go to the treasury and take away all the fortune. Right? Today, do governments have treasury?
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
Filled with
I mean,
debt.
not like a physical treasury where you lock money and everything, but we have our
We
own.
have Department of Finance which collects money and spends more, and it takes a loan. See
Correct.
what happens. Why do these old monarchies have treasury? The good times don't last for a long time. I mean, every family saves money for the rainy day, right? Something you get, something big tragedy happens, you need to save yourself. A country was also run like this. If what happens if there is a famine for 2 to 3 years? Country. What happens if there is a major natural calamity? So the king always has a responsibility to hold treasury. So the kingdom always earns more than expense. And it
And
used to keep something for the rain.
how do you
So
how do you see it different in democracy? It's the same thing.
what happens? The government always keeps borrowing. You always have deficit budget, be it in America, be it Europe, be it China, be it India. Every government borrows, right? Everybody is in debt. Who pays for this debt?
Actually, the interesting question would be who is funding all these governments? Like, it's the World Bank in itself. We have World Banks, Asian banks, but who are we repaying to? Will be a very, very interesting question. If all the countries are borrowing,
Yeah,
no, that
somebody
that
has to
that
be.
would be, yeah. Who
No,
that would be an interesting question.
that I will leave it there. That we will enter into something called as conspiracy theory. So we don't want to get in there. But
Okay.
let us say, for convenience sake, Indian government keeps borrowing. You know how much it can borrow? They have a ceiling, fiscal responsibility bill, or something they have brought in. They said
Yeah, that comes to checks and
5.5%.
balances. Yeah.
Yeah, 5.5 percentage of GDP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 5.5 percentage of the budget
Mm.
to collection. 5.5
Okay.
percent of GDP. That is where they play the trick. What they say is, what is your tax collection? Government revenue, 8 to 10%. And you can collect 5.5%. I mean, you can spend 5.5%, which means you can spend 60% more than what you earn every year. Then what will happen?
Mm.
And why do they always say fiscal this the borrowing in terms of GDP, not as percentage of tax collection? Because it will be horrible. And these people keep on saying, "Arey, you are only borrowing 6%, no? Uh, you have 100% of GDP, which means theoretically you can tax 100% from the people."
No, but the borrowing is based on the fact that they're going to the revenue will be doubled the next, due to the borrowing. It's on what aspects that you borrow for, right? So
It
if you're
doesn't go,
borrowing
no,
for
no.
infrastructure, the return on the investment is going to cover the debt that you're buying. It's not that it's not like you're going to completely take from the tax revenue and pay it to the debtors. And because the debt that the money that you borrow is spent for infrastructure related activities,
That's
which
okay.
are in turn going to
That's,
give you, it's an entire chain, right? So
no, that's okay. This is what we say. This is how you are enslaved.
no,
That
that's a
you
fact.
actually forget your future. So this was not this mentality was not there 100 years back. That you borrow against your
Hmm.
future or your children and grandchildren. I will go ahead and spend my money. My children and grandchildren will work and pay that loan.
No, it's not like that. You're creating opportunities for your children and grandchildren.
Oh,
You're
okay.
borrowing money.
If that is the
You're
case,
borrowing money,
if,
and you're creating an
yeah, yeah,
opportunity. The opportunity is going to be enjoyed not just by you, but your future
no,
generations as well.
what is slavery mean?
To some
That
extent.
you work, that you work for someone else, right? For
Right.
someone else. Same thing. What they have done is they have today found a tool where you don't feel that you're a slave and you still end up working for someone else.